What it is, YouTube, it's your boy Alex J. We back with another one today. It's your boy with the Big Dogs Podcast, man. Trying to get used to saying that, man. Finally, representing some of my merch soon to be coming one of these days. Eventually I'll probably start selling these shirts and stuff like that, man. But we just gonna get straight into it, man, with the draft being last night. Happy Friday to y'all. Hope y'all have a blessed and safe weekend. The draft was last night, man. Some teams, I'll say some teams. I'm pretty sure all 32 teams are pretty happy with the guys they selected. Probably a little upset because, the guy they probably had on their board circled probably went a little bit before them and they had to go to their second option. But, that's why you get, months and months of being able to evaluate and go and study these players that you possibly may end up drafting come this time of year every year. So, that's, is what it is. But from what I look in comments online, under the NFL Instagram page and just on YouTube and stuff like that, it seems like this year a lot of people are it might be like a good 10 teams. Like the Titans obviously going with Cam Ward. The Giants ended up snatching Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter, being able to do that. Jacksonville Jaguars trading up with the Browns, snatching Travis Hunter. Those are the Ward, Hunter, Carter. That was the order of the picks that went. And pretty much all of any mock draft you've probably seen over the last few months, 9 times out of 10, it had those guys going first. And most likely probably not that exact order, but 9 times out of 10, you've seen Cam Ward going first, and then it was kind of like a 1A, 1B thing, out of Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter, who would go second. But they ended up getting snatched off the board, man. In my opinion, to be honest, I don't really necessarily think that any teams necessarily, I don't want to say they reached, they probably did, but I think, man, it wasn't a whole lot of splash picks this year. And I've been saying that with the draft this year, with it not being just a real big quarterback class like in recent years, that I'm thinking these guys, because only 2 quarterbacks went in the first round. Cam Ward went first overall, and then the Giants ended up trading back up into the first round to select Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss with the 25th overall pick. And when you use in recent years, we done seen like I say last year's class with Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, and somebody else went in the first round to a quarterback. Can't really think of them off the top of my head right now, but there was definitely another first round quarterback. And then even if you go back to the years before that, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, they going in that, just off the top of my head, those guys went in the top 4 that year. So with this year, it not being just a big class to where you've seen a bunch of quarterbacks going high in the first round. They had a lot of drafts had Shedeur mocked in the first round, but Shedeur ended up falling. I mean, he could potentially end up falling again later today, but that's still yet to be seen. And you got to make sure things look straight. Let me go ahead and straighten that up. But Shedeur could possibly end up falling today out of the second round too. One thing that a lot of the media is doing right now is trying to make it seem like as if Shedeur was wronged in this situation. And I'm not going to say he was wronged in this situation at all, just because of the simple fact, man, if you see somebody you feel like is better than this person, man, and you want to pick them, that's those teams' right to do that. You can't sit here and try to make it seem like these teams that passed on him in his first round, I see him still getting drafted 100%. I still think he's a good player, still think he has the upside, because with Shedeur's game, he's one of those guys, since he's not just blessed just athletically like somebody like a Jalen Milroe or just a Joe Milton, like that was a name I forgot in the last video with the Cowboys trading the New England Patriots. If he's not just gifted like those guys, so he has to, sharpen his game and know how to read defenses and stuff like that, and make sure that he stays consistently accurate with the passes he throws, because he ain't a guy that got a 4.3 in the tank. He ain't a guy that's 6'5", 230. He's not that Jalen Hurts, squatting 600 pounds guy. So with those things being said, you can't be mad that. And then him playing for a school like Colorado, like first year going 4-8, then last year winning like 9 games. I still, like I said, I think Shedeur is great, and I think he could definitely have a career like similar, like kind of playing style, as like a Tom Brady. Not saying he's gonna end up with 7 rings at the end of the day like Tom Brady, but just seeing how like somebody like Drew Brees and even the Peyton Manning, like those guys, like they weren't just super raw athletic quarterbacks, but they definitely could read a defense and they could dot you up with that arm. And if Shedeur could become a player like that, I think that he definitely could compete in this league. That's the word I want to use, is compete. I definitely think he could compete in this league. With, later on in the draft, just a couple of the notes and things I took. The Jaguars ended up trading up to select Travis Hunter. The Browns, man. Steelers, man. Hey, one thing I think about Andrew Berry, that GM for the Browns, man, is they definitely be trying, man, because the Browns be having a solid team all around. They've just never been able to figure it out at quarterback. And seeing how what they just did and swapping, or not swapping, but, trading back just a few picks. They ended up picking Mason Graham out of Michigan with the 5th overall pick. They swapped picks with Jacksonville, the 2nd and the 5th, and with that happening, they ended up picking up Jacksonville's 2nd round pick this year and a 4th round pick this year, and then a 1st round pick next year. Their 1st round pick next year will go to the Browns. So the Browns will have 2 1st round picks next year. They're definitely going to be, if they don't take a quarterback this year and they just go ahead and ride it out with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, who are 2 serviceable quarterbacks, but if they have a team around them this year and they think that, man, like, getting over the hump, like, man, it'll still be tough. And I'm not saying that like somebody like Shedeur, somebody will get him over the hump being a rookie, but seeing how Jaden Daniels had his year last year with the Commanders, he had a real tough, strong year last year. Like he ended up taking the Commanders to the NFC Championship game, and yeah, they ended up getting belted behind by the Eagles. But my point I'm trying to make is, we just trying to, they definitely know. Look, see, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but I feel like I had to sneeze. But yeah, like I said, man, with the Browns loading up on those boatload of picks like that, they definitely, if they're not gonna take a quarterback this year, I'm pretty sure they will. I could possibly see them taking a Will Howard or a what's my guy at Texas, Quentin Ewers. I can see them even taking a Jalen Milroe, even though that's who, I'm not even going to lie, I thought we possibly would snatch a quarterback in the 1st round, but I'm kind of cool with the Steelers making sure that they, loaded up on that defensive line, because Derrick Henry ran all over us like as if we was a JV team in the playoff game. Derrick Henry almost ran for 200 yards in that game. So knowing that Cam Hayward is obviously probably on his last year, probably 9 times out of 10 Cam's on his last year, you ask me. But he still had that hunger power, man. Cam Hayward might play another year or 2. He might, but it's a good thing that I think we showed up the D-line with us selecting Derek Harmon with the 21st pick out of Oregon. He's a defensive tackle that's real good with his hands, can play at the left end position, the right end position, or stay inside at that the D tackle position to where he can stay on the field all 3 downs. Stay pass rusher. He's a good run stopper. Looking at his tape, he's a dude that definitely gets those TFLs. So that's obviously real good. And Coach Tomlin says he's a Steeler. So, hey, I'm cool with us getting the trenches right, because the battle is won in the trenches. A lot of people always, and that's what I'm saying. I'm reading these comments, and it's like, everybody wants these sexy, just real, glamour picks. Everybody wants to go get a receiver. Everybody wants the corner and the quarterback and, all that stuff. But, man, if you ain't got them big boys up front blocking, man, if you ain't got them big boys up front stopping that run and getting to that quarterback, then it's going to be hard for you to compete in this league, because that's where the game of football is won at all levels. I don't care what nobody say. The game of football is always won in the trenches. If you ain't got nothing but a half a millisecond to throw the ball because your offensive tackle is on his behind every play, then that nice scheme that y'all coached and drew up is not good. It's not gonna work. That nice play that y'all done been working on all week in practice ain't gonna work, because you gotta win in the trenches first. You need a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi to be able to get the ball out of there. And at least, be able to 1 Mississippi, get the ball out. So the game is always one in the trenches. And like I say, man, with Cleveland showing up on these picks like that and them selecting that dude up out of Michigan, Mason Graham, I seen him wreak havoc all this year, man. And in the Michigan's championship run they had 2 years ago. So we definitely go see that. The Panthers getting man, his name Tutorio McMillan, receiver out of Arizona. I think that's pretty good for them. They thinking he the best receiver in this draft. And looking back at the board, yeah, the next receiver that went was Emeka Ibuka, and he ended up going to Tampa Bay with the 19th overall pick. So you could almost say is the gap that big? That's the thing about the draft. Is the gap that big? Because these guys will be picked right here, but then it'll be a dude that came out in the 3rd or 4th round that'll be showing out all year next year, and we'd be like, where did this guy come from? Yeah, he was a steal. So like I say, some of the biggest names that's still on the board, Will Johnson out of Michigan. They thought he was going to be a 1st-round pick, top 10 pick. Alabama's quarterback, Jalen Milroe, he's still on the board. It's a couple other names that I jotted down that I was like, man, that dude's still on the board. The Ohio State running backs are still on the board, but they ain't going to be on. I would almost guarantee the Ohio State running backs don't make it past pick 75, both of them. Neither one of them will make it past pick 75. Yeah, those are just a couple of the names that I came up with that I'm like, man, those guys are still on the board. They're still on the board. It's some names still out there. The 2nd and 3rd round is where you go get those guys. Like in the WNBA, or excuse me, in the NBA, you go get those role players that was played those 3 years of college. That's real nice shooters and stuff. In the 1st round, you get those guys that's real good. And they probably got a lot of promise and stuff like that. But you go get those sharpened up and developed guys in those later rounds of those drafts. You ask me, you always do. And it's gonna be some diamonds in the rough there. It's gonna be some studs in those rounds left. So we gonna definitely see what's gonna happen. But looking back at this 1st round, seeing as how like all these tackles went in the draft, I'm counting three tackles that went in the 1st round. And a bunch of defensive tackles went in the 1st round. We got 1, 2, 3. Yeah. With this, man, with this draft, I really do like how these teams play this 1st round, man. I really do, just because of some fact, man. It seemed like a lot of teams went and got guys they needed. You could argue that the Bears selecting Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan, over Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State, just because me looking at the two of them, I'm not going to lie, I kind of like the tight end out of Penn State a little bit more, just because of the simple fact, like, I think he's just a baller, man. That's just a football player. It's certain guys, like last year, I thought Cooper DeJean, I was like, man, that's a football player. It's certain guys that you just like, man, you can tell, like, they just love the game of football. You just watch the way they play. You like, man, that's a football player. Some dudes are just strictly wide receivers. Some dudes are strictly quarterbacks. Some dudes are strictly, just defenders. But then you got those guys like Tyler Warren. He one of them dudes, I guarantee, if you put him on defense, have playing linebacker, he going to be hitting and everything. Like, it's dudes like that. Cooper DeJean, you put him on offense, and he probably could route some people up and make some people miss tackles and all that type of stuff. So I'm not going to keep y'all here too long. I'm hoping my Pittsburgh Steelers trade back up into the 2nd round to snatch somebody that's, worth snatching. I just really hope that at the end of this draft that my team makes sure that they pick guys that are going to be guys that could bring us a championship. But not only that, we could sign long-term and they end up retiring and turning into Hall of Famers with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You want guys like that you get to continuously develop, and maybe later on in their career they can go play for their childhood team that they love the most, Cowboys or Giants or whoever. You know what I mean? But I really hope that these guys, first of all, are very disciplined and mature. Congratulations to them for the opportunities that they have finally arrived and worked for, and the blessings to their families that they've become. But I want to see us with a class where we got, Derek Harmon, I pray to God that he have a career just like Cam Hayward, but probably have a couple of Super Bowls on his resume at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Cam Hayward, 12, 13-year vet, never really been a problem, always been a force of nature for our defense. I pray that it all ends up turning out like that when it's all said and done for our guy, Derek Harmon. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. Hope y'all enjoy the night, man. Watch the draft. Enjoy it with your family. Have a good, safe weekend. And hopefully your team picks somebody that you really want, but not nobody that I want, because I need a few guys to come on over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really like it if we went ahead and snatched Jalen Milroe and got Judkins from Quinshawn, I think, yeah, that's his name. Quinshawn Judkins from Ohio State, one of those running backs. Other than that, man, probably need to snatch a corner or something, another offensive lineman or something like that. But it'd be really nice if we could snatch those guys, man. But I appreciate y'all. If you catch me at this point in the video, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Enjoy the draft. Have a good one. Peace.